for an MTC.
Thank you. This is, hi everybody. Good morning. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe, where we are discussing Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Pretty much one piece at a time. Today is the beginning of the chapter about the Mastermind, a Napoleon Hill concept, or name, if you will, to a concept that was described by Andrew Carnegie. There have been there's a history of mastermind groups, formal, informal. It is the gathering of like-minded people focused on brainstorming solutions to a problem. And it's during the brainstorming that this additional energy or mind forms, and great things can happen. And what's meant by that is that my experience has been as a member of a mastermind group, is that as they're brainstorming, I'm coming up with different ideas that I wouldn't have come up with to begin with, just by listening to everybody else and then participating in throwing things out to see if this makes sense or if this sticks. And being the recipient of other people's brainstorming, I've walked away with ideas and actions that I can take that on my own I would not have considered, I would not have thought of. It's just not possible. So Napoleon Hill calls that extra energy that happens the master mind, that comes when a group gathers and focuses on finding a solution, an answer to a specific problem, again, the brainstorming, or simply not quite as deep as a brainstorming to solve a problem might be the trying to come up with what other resources are out there. What's a better way to do something, which really is brainstorming, but possibly another way to say it. Hi, Brian. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. So what I thought is we could have somebody, let's do a mastermind group. I have to shut this down early because I have a professional networking meeting at the top of the hour that I have to open the room for. It is virtual. I'll share that link later for anybody interested in doing professional networking virtual. But really, let's, if you're interested in masterminding, if you're interested wondering, well, how does a mastermind work? What does it really look like? Because I facilitate mastermind groups, let's do it. So anybody got a question that they would pose to a group of people to find an answer to? How to do something better in the business? Brian had brought up time management. We could go a little deeper on that so that it's easier to answer. And I'll go into that in just a second if Brian's willing to stay here. So yeah, the seat's open. Jump on in. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to be painless. The joy of a mastermind group is there are no real right or wrong answers. It is truly a matter of let's help somebody.
It's not going to be painless. Oh.
Wondered if you caught that. All right, so yeah, it is painless. It really is. We're not talking about therapy here. Honest intention. We're not talking about therapy.
That'd be gone.
Oh my goodness, we'd be in so much trouble for I could so much harm. No, we're not talking about therapy. We're talking about, I got a business problem, or I got a business issue, or I have a question about something within my business. So you bring it to your mastermind group, and I help to guide the questions, if you will, set the tone, make sure people are focused on providing you with the answer. That's my role as the facilitator. And honestly, once a group's been meeting for a while, they don't need me to do that part. They know how to ask more questions to get more information to be able to provide the right answer. So they're not like going down rabbit holes and rabbit trails and all over the place, but instead stay very, very focused.
So how do you manage time? How
do you manage time? All right, so there's the question posed. My question to you, Brian, is that it is too broad of a question. Is there a specific issue that you are having with time management? Can you give us a scenario so we can better address what the problem you're having with it?
Getting everything done and done on time and staying organized.
So getting everything done on time and staying organized. Do you mean getting everything done in terms of your day, terms of a specific project? No, Ellery, it's not an ongoing mastermind. It's just for today. Happens to be the topic from the book is the mastermind group. If you're interested in, just a side note, if you're interested in possibly joining a formal mastermind group, I moderate and facilitate them. So you can find out more here. And what that will do is eventually get you to my calendar. We'll have a conversation because that's just an introduction to what's available right now. So go, and for those on the recording, I sent her to onlinemastermindgroup.com. Just to make sure everybody knows who's talking and what they're saying. So, was it specific to a project or to a day or to your life in general?
No, it's
Get
just
specific.
It's just specifically not finishing the day with everything completed.
All right.
And how to keep record of that. I have...
Wait a minute. For the recording, Ken is asking, because Ken can't go in the live stream, do you use a time management methodology at the moment?
No. And maybe
Okay.
that's what I'm asking in a more formal sense, is what do other people use to manage time? I use 3x5 cards, and I have them flipped over. They're cheap. They're a great way to take notes and dispose of them. And I just have them sitting right here by my desk, and I jot down thoughts. I jot down. Like yesterday, I was trying to come up with an acronym for DRIVE, and I came up with... I like the other one better. Decisive, responsible interaction, offering vitality every day. So, and I just jotted that down.
Okay.
So my 3x5s are great. My trash can gets full of them quickly.
So your response to Ken's question is that you currently don't have a method for managing your time right now.
No, I jot down things I need to get done and put them on one of the 3x5s and have that ever before me and cross them off when I'm done.
So anybody else have questions for Brian?
And by the way, I want you to notice it got clean. Oh.
The blank wall behind you.
Yeah.
So Brian is asking for assistance in how to be better organized and possibly do some time management. Ken brought up, do you currently use a time management methodology? And Brian's answer was no. Matt is asking, do you ever plan ahead by weeks with an online tool or calendar?
I do when there's an appointment or something, because I have a Mac and they have a wonderful calendar system. Unfortunately, a while back, it wasn't linked to my phone, which was not good. But regardless, yes, I do. So
calendar is used for people appointments. Yes. Hi, Ralph.
Good morning.
Good morning. So you're going to help us out with this?
Well, I know what I do is, okay, when you know what you want to do in the day is those top priorities. You know, I've listened to some of the Tony Robbins, the RPMs, and those types of things, and I do not have this program. But basically, when you have your top goals that you want, and you know what they are, for the month, for the week, and for the day, and those are set, as your priorities, and you make sure that you get those done. And I know for myself, when I have my day fully scheduled, like jump on a blab, I have this slot of time, and that's it. I can't lollygag around, hanging out on doing something, even though they're beneficial. What is most important, for me to reach my goal at that time? When you have that clear, written process that you allocate your time, then just like you talk about budgeting, every dollar has a name. Every minute, has a name as well, that you do to get things done in the day that you find the most important. Otherwise, life is just going to consume you, and you're not going to be able to get done what you need to get done.
Okay. So I'm gonna interject for a moment, Ralph, that Brian has already told us he doesn't use the calendar. He doesn't have an organized way of scheduling his time. So it may be that a step back with what you're saying, if you could take a step back and address how to approach and begin with organizing yourself and your time using the tools that you're talking about.
It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Yeah, I use my phone, so it's all synced with my computer and everything. But yeah, you can get yourself just a book, a schedule or planner. Sometimes people give them away at the first of the year, and in those they have them broke down to. Some of them have broke down to 15 minutes intervals. So you can plan your day out, and that way you know where you have to be. That's
okay. Thank you, Ralph. Steve, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. This is my first. Am I coming across okay?
You are just fine. I can see you and hear you just fine.
All right. Trying a new headset. I was having some technical problems. I find, as far as time management, one of the biggest problems that I have is the interruptions, the expectations of others, because the in and out from the interruption, I waste so much time. So controlling the environment is a key to controlling my schedule.
I agree.
I sent a link for an article out of Fortune, which I found fairly helpful because it gives some quick tips for how to control your time and yet not be too offensive to others around you.
Would you mind sharing a few of those tips here with us, Steve?
Yeah, sure. I think that the first one that I really enjoyed in there was just to block out your schedule. I found that to be very helpful. If I set myself up for the day with, this is the period of time when I will allow this type of activity or when I will work on this type of project, I find it's easier to talk with people to answer their demands for my time if I say, can I get back to you because I have already got this scheduled for X to Y. So that's one of them, and without boring everybody with all the details, it's just a quick read. I think that the topic or the title for it, the first one or something, is use an egg timer, for managing your time, which is simple, low-tech ideas, but I just found it a very helpful article, quick read, so I thought I'd pass that along as contribution to this, my initial blab.
Excellent. Excellent. So one of an actionable item out of that is actually blocking time, specific time, and assigning it. This is what I heard, assigning it a name, that it is only during this time I work on something here and no interruptions allowed. Am I correct?
Yes, and that is correct. And one other quick tip that I would suggest is the overused cliche of baby steps. It's hard to turn around your time scheduling efforts overnight, but to take baby steps on this, say that I will tomorrow schedule my email management between X and Y, or that I will handle some other specific or regular task, and then build upon that so that it becomes a manageable habit as opposed to something that is a total lifestyle upheaval. So I think I'll bow out and let other people join in. It's been a pleasant experience, my first introduction.
Terrific.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Some great information. All right, so Brian, to this point, have you heard anything that is making sense that you would?
Matt, I'll block out time, and
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And the baby steps thing of nobody's perfect kind of gets it, you know, because you can't like.
Okay, so the question I have for you is, what are you going to do?
I like what Ken said too about blocking and chunking out work periods so you can take a break. Because I'm one of those people that if I get focused and get derailed, it's all over.
So again, what one thing are you going to change or put into place to try from what we've talked about to this point? Or if you don't have the one thing that you're feeling really solid about, or you want more information about how to block out your time, how to chunk it out, we can go in that direction too. The idea is to get you an answer.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely block out the time because I see the value in that. I see that, you know, not remaining so focused, but allowing myself the breaks, allowing myself to go get coffee, because that coffee pot shuts off by itself and gets cold, and that frustrates me. To be able to sit down and actually eat, to actually block out the time, and then come back and switch gears to the next thing on the checklist.
So the seat's open. Anybody want to jump in? Ralph, do you have any additional comments or questions that you want to, or anything else you'd like to say? I can't hear you.
Thank you. Sorry, I muted myself. And when, what I was sharing before about blocking out and having your priorities, time for yourself, time with your family, you know, to enjoy life, you know, sit down for a nice dinner, you know, taking breaks. A lesson I learned, and I'm just talking about, you know, things I find is just natural. You know, the turtle and the rabbit race. Okay, when I did a half marathon after returning after my accident, I did 4 minutes running, 1 minute walking. I did 5-minute intervals, 4 and 1, 4 and 1. And the following year, I did 3 and 1. So they were 4 minute instead of 5-minute intervals. But I was comfortable in that pace. But I took that break. I ended up taking more breaks, but I finished that half marathon 20 minutes faster. So the point I'm trying to make in life, you need to get up, get away from what you're doing, because when you come back, you have a fresher look on things. You need those breaks in, you know, time management. When you're fresh and you're sharp, you're going to get more done than if you sit at your job, your desk all day and get into a slump that you're not productive. So the breaks are important in your schedule and your time management to revitalize yourself to get things done. And I use that example, you know, think about when have a long day and you don't take a break, you're totally exhausted and your productivity is probably way, way down.
Yep.
So then you get to enjoy life, you know, all the beauty in life, and not work as long, but work more efficiently.
Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Well, what's up with great feedback? Great information. So
Matt said an early start to the day, not being in a rush, is nice too. And I do that every morning. I'll take about 15 minutes and I'll write my agenda for the day that morning. That way it's not all cluttered and I might start doing it the day before going to bed and stuff. But just having that right there at the beginning of the day saying, I need to get this done, this done, this done. I've already been doing that, and that has helped. So
it's the baby steps. You're talking about the baby steps. It's really hard to interrupt your whole pattern, your whole lifestyle, just like that. Sometimes you got to just, ease into it. You don't go to the gym and work out one day and you're totally fit for life. But, I find, like on your rituals, you get up, the first thing when you wake up, things that you do, these are just daily habits. But when you can change that, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get the same results. But if you can change just a little bit, and I started mine out with, moments of gratitude. Before I get out of bed, I say thank you for the day, and I think of at least 5 things to be grateful for. Anytime I put my feet on the floor, and each step out of my bedroom, I say thank you.
That's something I've been doing, not the gratitude thing either, but I used to be getting up at 5:30 and I'd hit the floor running, and I don't do that anymore. It's now set to, the alarm set to 5:15.
Thank you.
And I'll just take that 15 minutes and I'll read something, or I'll do something just to wake my mind up. And it's been a wonderful way to not
So excellent.
rush.
So you've got a morning routine that it sounds like you will be able to fit in what you had said you were going to take away from this brainstorming and offering of assistance to you. You're going to take away the practice of trying to chunk or block specific time for specific tasks that you could fit into the morning routine. Am I right?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yes. And Ken mentioned another tip, if you're working on a list of tasks, is to pick some quickly and easy stuff first to break the inertia and build momentum. And I do that already with house cleaning because I live alone. So I had to clean the kitchen because it just kept piling. Somebody's not here to do the dishes, they're going to pile up, and they did. So I take time to do that too. Just basic maintenance stuff.
So repeat for all of us then what you are going to put into place so that when you come back to us, you can give us an update and tell us if it worked or not.
Block out time for initial tasks. Take breaks. Allow time for me. Wow, you derailed me. Block out time, take breaks.
Now, these are all things that you're going to be able to do so that at our next meeting, you're going to be able to come back and to say, update whether or not it worked, how you were able to put it into place, how you tried it.
The 15 minutes earlier is a wonderful tip. It really does energize your mind, get you focused. Follow on course until successful.
Mm-hmm.
I love that acronym.
Right.
And then I forget the last one. But if you tell me again, I'll write it down.
So one secret that I'm going to throw out there is, you say you're using your 3x5 cards and they fill up the wastebasket. Is that because as you complete something, you throw it away, so therefore it's done? Or Are you using the 3x5s to take notes like I would a piece of note paper and then just set it aside and never refer to it again?
No, I'm using it to take notes, and I also use it to keep track of the list of things to get done.
So what I would do, the only thing I would add to everything that's been said and what you're saying you're taking away from this at this point is you are going to chunk out budget some time, specifically block time specifically for specific projects and tasks, including, and I think you said this, including your break time, because that's the point of having it. You're going to set 3 hours working on this, 3 hours is done, walk away, come back. That's what I was hearing in the recommendations. And when you say you're going to block out time, that's what I'm hearing you say you're going to do. Am I correct?
Yes.
All right. So what I would add to what everybody else has said and what you've said you're going to take away from this and put into action is possibly with your 3x5s, you're already using that system. When you look at the calendar and block out the time, organize the 3x5s associated with a specific project or task that's assigned to that time and put them in their own stack. So that you may have 5 stacks on the desk. And the first stack is the morning that you're going to tackle. And there might be 2, there might be 5. I don't know how many 3x5s are there. Only that in that first stack with that first block of time is all you're going to do is what's in that stack.
Yeah, I have one for the checklist and one for the notes.
Okay. And that's the only recommendation I would add to what everybody has offered to you and what you're going to do, what you said you were going to take action on, is possibly another way to keep yourself organized. Is you're already using the 3x5s, so assign them the 3x5 to that time frame.
I would agree with Charlene because sometimes you got to stay focused on the future, but sometimes you have to, when you set a budget, you have to know what you spent the year prior to be able to budget for the next year and make those adjustments. Likewise, when we go through our life to really improve, we can see when we block off this time and we check, yes, we accomplished this task. Sometimes it's nice to reflect back to see where we've been and see how much we've accomplished. So sometimes being able to reflect back and instead of tossing those cards, and that's what I like about a calendar, but the cards, stacking them, and you could have your success stacks of whatever, things, your personal time, whatever your career goals, whatever you're looking for, health goals, that, you budget your time out.
Yep.
All right. So let's bring this to a close, this particular session, if you will. The idea was, let's look at how a mastermind works. So Brian brought up a potential problem that he wanted some brainstorming on. So it was pretty broad, and we needed to bring it down to something that we could actually provide an answer to, because there's hundreds of thousands of different ways to manage ourselves and our time, right? But if we bring it down specific to what's Brian's issue, what are you having difficulty with? What is the process now? And how are you seeing things now, and how are you doing things? And what that does is that allows us as members of the mastermind to focus our attention on what's Brian needing, not what works for us right away, because we all want to jump in with an answer, right? We all want to jump in, well, this is what works for me. This is what works for me. Well, poor Brian will be sitting there with 5 different, very different ways of calendaring and blocking time and tools and what have you. But we're not certain that our way is going to work for Brian until we learn more. And so what we learned was that he already has a process in place, that it's not working very well, that he wants more in terms of being able to get more done without being so tired. Those questions came up. This is the end result of all the questions that Ralph and Steve and Ellery and Ken have been posing and Matt have been posing. So we get more information from Brian, and by getting more information and more clarity on what really Brian needs, all of us are able to take what works for us and to say, how would that work for Brian? And the end result is that he is telling us he is going to be able to put into action something very specific. And I ask that always because what are you going to tell us when you come back to the next meeting? You have to be able to update us. That's the whole point of the exercise, is to walk away with something I can put into action and then come back and tell us how it worked.
That I actually
that you actually what?
That I actually have done it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice. So if that truly was an issue and you walked away with actual actionable things that you're going to put into place, I know we'd all love to hear about it tomorrow. Did you try something new and how did it work? You know, and that's just a touch point. Come on in tomorrow morning and say, hey, you know, this is what y'all told me to do yesterday. It didn't work, but this is what I learned, because oftentimes that happens too. So we can do it again. Anybody else? Something different?
I'm going to go ahead and jump out. I got to.
Okay, Brian, thank you. Appreciate you being the first one to bring up something.
Set up a solid plan you can follow, starting with the checklist. I've got the checklist and schedule.
No problem.
And starting on the schedule. So
there you go.
Have fun.
One step at a time. Awesome. Thank you, Brian. So anybody else want to bring up something that we can brainstorm about and see if we can't find an answer for you to get the experience of what a little more formal masterminding can look like? Hi, Ralph. You don't have to. You don't have to. You can just talk about your, because you've had your committees that are very similar to masterminding, where you gather and kind of brainstorm how to do things.
And I just before I jumped on here, I had a mastermind call or Zoom meeting, which was my very first one, a new mastermind group, which is phenomenal. And I guess you know, the power of the mastermind that is totally awesome, because just putting out there, I presently, my goal is to work from a very successful real estate career into more public speaking. So there, the ideals that kind of were thrown towards me to consider, and that's why I like a mastermind. You know, and I hope I don't come across and say you need to do this, this, and this. You know, sharing these are things that work for me. Hopefully, that inspires or sparks new ideals that they can find a path. You know, success leaves clues. So, from experienced speakers and promoters, you know, working into that arena, and some of the topics they talked about is maybe getting in front of, you know, local organizations, Lions and Rotary clubs and things like that to do more speaking. And those things, I've done that. I'm at that level, and now want to get higher. You know, go up a lot higher. Some of the things that I've done is put myself out on speakers match, and you know, to expose myself. But you know, I guess the challenge I have in doing some of the blabs, I started a blab, as you know, as well. To get that experience in that following, that I'm able to maybe possibly share some videos, some clips on my profile, so people can come. And if I say, "Oh, I'm the greatest," but sometimes people like to experience it for themselves. You know, every movie.
I can't just take your word for it, Ralph. Right? I mean, you can take my word. I am so awesome, Ralph. Oh my word, I really am. I am I'm beyond bee's knees. Okay, I am just beyond bee's knees.
I would have to agree with you now, but if you just put yourself out there on a website, I don't know that
it doesn't work. I've tried it. You know, I haven't tried it, but I've worked with people who have that, and I see their website and they say I'm the best speaker you'll ever have because of this, this, and this, and there's nothing to show me. Really? You know, just because you think so doesn't mean your audience thinks so, right? So
it's love to. It's awesome to see the different, you know, angles and different views that people look at you. Yeah. you know, and one of the things, my topic is plant seeds carefully.
Right.
You know, think what we think about, we bring about, and through the different discussion, coming up with a tagline that I am polishing, working on it, but basically is negative to positive, one thought at a time.
Okay, hold that right there, because that is a perfect, beautiful thing to bring up in a mastermind group. So let's get the audience. Fill the seats, please. I got 2 seats open. Let's get some comments going on Ralph's tagline. You've heard that he wants to be a public speaker. He wants to speak to various types of groups. The focus is be careful of the seeds you plant, because what you plant grows. Am I correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And so his tagline, and the tagline is the descriptive piece for the target market to get it. I get what you do, and I get what I understand what I'm going to get out of what you're going to offer me. So tell us the tagline again, and I want people to respond. Does it make sense to you? If it doesn't make sense to you, do you have an idea of a different way to say it where it would make sense to you? Go ahead, Ralph.
Change negative to positive, one thought at a time. My research shows that the average person has 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day, or 35 to 50 thoughts per minute. So just like the seeds that fall into the soil, you know, nature has this way of just blowing seeds. Birds carry seeds, you know, and they fall. Likewise, we live in a world that has, you know, the news, the things going around us, people cutting us off in traffic, different things that happen.
Ralph?
Yep.
Ralph? We already know all that. So, if you were in the formal mastermind meeting, this is exactly what I'd be doing. Is saying, Ralph, can you give us just a moment for everybody to kind of think about what you said it was that you do, which is public speaker, be careful of the seeds you plant, and that your tagline is change negative to positive, one thought at a time. Let us sit on that just for a moment so that we know the kind of questions to ask you, and so we can better help you. Okay?
Super.
So, and that's how it works. So anybody want to jump into the seat and address how that tagline, there is no right or wrong. This is truly just kind of brainstorming with Ralph to say that I think I'm your target market and it resonates with me. I think it's great. Or I don't get it. Can you flesh it out a little bit more? Maybe if you change this word to that word. If you have questions, now's the time to ask them. And we have a question from Ken. Is it maybe too generic to engage with someone at a personal level? Something to consider. Mm-hmm. And Steve, who is your audience for this? Good question. Who is your audience? Okay, Ralph, who's your audience?
The audience is from high school students to business people to people who are in different types of support groups, people who are going through challenges in life.
Okay. So based on that, do you have additional questions or comments that you would like to offer to Ralph? Tammy, high school and business professionals are very different. Good comment. Anybody else? Remembering his tagline is change negative to positive, one thought at a time. So Ken is saying the common thread is they all want to make progress.
Mm-hmm.
Ellery is saying, change negative to positive one thought at a time sounds like a long, painful process to me. Unless I was familiar with your work, I think I'd pass. Okay.
Interesting.
Anybody else? Comments? Jump in the seat. Feel free. Ask questions of Ralph. I just want to make sure that we stay focused on our end goal here is to help Ralph with his tagline, either to walk away with it staying the same or giving him ideas that can help him to improve it. Ken is saying link positive thoughts to desired outcomes. Can you expand on that just a little bit, Ken? I'm going to welcome Craig into the room.
Good morning.
Good morning, Craig.
Hello, Charlene and Ralph. How are y'all this morning?
Doing good.
Outstanding.
Good. All right, so actually it's a perfect topic. The last week has been incredible thought-changing processes for me. Actually, the last 2 weeks. And I don't know if you've ever heard of, I don't know if it's more of a book, I guess, The Secret.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All goes along in line with this. And that was I actually ended up reading or watching the documentary they have, I guess, about, I guess it's a little over a week ago. I watched it on Saturday night, a week ago. And what made the connection for me that I had never heard and never understood was when you have that vision, you have to connect it with a feeling. You have to connect that vision with a feeling of success and what it's going to feel like when you accomplish that. And that just turned my world around as far as how to think.
So would you be able to apply that to his tagline? Is that what you're saying? Is
one thought at a time, because if you constantly put that, if you constantly go back to that vision, when you have those negative thoughts, you immediately turn that around, go back to that vision, connect that feeling. And
so any ideas on maybe what kind of feeling he could attach to that tagline? Instead of saying change negative to positive? Instead of saying that, maybe? Just a thought?
Attaching feelings to that. Let me think through that.
Yeah. Ken is saying, if business audience link to a business success, of course, the word success can connotate an emotion, right?
Yep. Yeah, that feeling of pride of accomplishment for me is one of them. Man, you're feeling that high you get when you finish a project, when you make a goal. Just the joy and accomplishment you feel. That's one of them for me.
Okay.
Trying to think of the other really positive feelings, how that translates into a word.
Excellent. While you're doing that, Alexander is saying the first step in changing negative thinking is to become aware of it. For many of us, negative thinking is a bad habit. May not even know we're doing it. What do you think of that, Ralph?
Well, yeah, and negative to positive is to me is being more aware, because our thoughts, we have different things that we're constantly thinking, our emotions, our feelings. If we stand straight and tall, you can't be depressed. So there's so many different opportunities to trigger that negative and turn it to a positive. The stories that we tell ourselves, but I agree with you. The feeling is there. The feeling creates stronger whys, but it starts with the thought. I think the thought comes before the feeling.
So Ellery is saying the target needs to be more specific to tailor the message. If we look at, Ralph was saying in agreement to a comment earlier by somebody that the target is, and the common thread is that they're wanting to make positive progress. They're wanting to move forward. Okay, Ralph. So one thing is, could you repeat what your ultimate mission is about planting the seed, and follow that with your tagline so everybody hears it from you. You were saying that to be careful of the seed you plant.
Plant seeds carefully. Change negative to positive, one thought at a time.
So it's plant seeds carefully, change negative to positive, one thought at a time.
I like the one positive mindset, one thought at a time. But
welcome back, Steve. What do you think?
Thank you. I think if the intention is to keep this broad, as stated, it needs to be more personalized. And one of the biggest struggles that I have had personally in reading and sharing with others over the years is it's the inner voices. We are generally our own worst enemies when it comes to this positive thought process. And you can have a tremendous success one day, and the next day the self-doubt just seems to overwhelm you and wash over all the good intentions and the positive affirmations that you might be able to come up with. And that's where following some of the positive thinking gurus, reading their books, even thoughts of the day sometimes is very helpful. But if the audience is going to be broad like this, then so does the message need to be broad too, in that this is about your inner voices, your inner self. The doubt comes from mostly the influences of others, the influencers in your life. Those matter, but it's that inner voice that you fight every day.
Good points, Steve. Excellent points. And I must bring this to a close. So, Ralph, based on comments from live stream, comments from the comment section, what do you think? What are you thinking about your tagline? What are you taking away from today?
What I'm taking away from today, the message that in my tagline is not as clear to the audience as it was to me. Okay, so I need to look at that tagline, keep it sharp, keep it sweet, but find a way to paint a clearer picture of that tagline, because of the mindset, the things that they're saying. I totally agree. It's just a way of I need to polish and clear that vision and get that focus, on the rest of the.
So one thing I'm going to offer to you that I don't think I heard you say, that I heard from everybody and seemed to be a common thread from everybody live stream and in the comment section, was to tie it somehow, use a word or two that brings an emotion to the outcome so that it evokes or has an emotion attached to the outcome when you're describing what the outcome is. Because you're describing the outcome as changing the negative to positive, so the outcome is changing to positive, but there's no emotional word attached to it. Craig brought up success. Other people have brought up just positive mindset. Others have brought up growth. I've thought of, tend to the, the mental ground that your seeds are planted in. Fertilize it well. Be careful of the fertilizer you use. No, that's not for me. So I'm going off into, almost like ad copy. But again, that just to bring that one part in for you to consider of what everybody else had said.
From frowns to happiness, one thought at a time.
could very well be. From frown to smile, one thought at a time. I mean, but that's you. And it's all about what's in it for me from the person's point of view. Yes. So that's it. That is how. Thank you, Steve. That's how a mastermind portion works. And my role is to make sure that everybody gets recognized who wants to be. That the person who brought the issue to the table is going to do something. There's something actionable they can put into use right now. Whether it's a physical activity like was brought out earlier, Or was, as Ralph is saying, so I'm seeing that what I brought was unclear, and those who participated in commenting and offering suggestions and asked questions is helping Ralph to see the direction he's going to take in terms of massaging that tagline. All right? Tell me if I'm wrong, please. Did I misread anybody? Okay. Please tell me if I misread anybody. I need feedback too. Awesome. So there you have it. We just had a bare basic mastermind group where two people had what's affectionately known as the hot seat. And that's all it was. Somebody brought an issue to the table, and we came together to provide answers, solutions, resources, whatever. And my role was to keep everybody on topic to make sure that Ralph got what he needed and Brian got what he needed. Now, the fun part is when everybody gets excited because you came back. We get to celebrate with you that, because that's the second part. To me, that's just as important as the first part. Ralph, whether it's tomorrow or the next day or the next day, we're going to want feedback. I'm going to want it just to say, because you said this is something you're working on anyway. So I've massaged it a little bit. And whether or not this was helpful, it'd be nice to know. And if it wasn't, that's fine. Honesty is always appreciated. And Brian's coming back tomorrow.
Just the awareness of the message I was sharing was not a clear message is so important.
Good. All right. So, and for those in the recording, Ellery, this was great, Charlene. I have a better understanding of the mastermind now. Thank you. You're quite welcome. Ken, great insight into mastermind groups. Charlene, thanks. You're quite welcome, Ken. I'm glad to hear that. And on my side, I'm glad for that feedback because I think it's important that people understand that a mastermind group isn't a group therapy session. I don't know what you guys think it is, but it's not a group therapy session. It really is a controlled environment so that we can really, truly focus on finding an answer for whomever brought the problem to the table. And that's what I do. So I'm glad you got something out of this. I want to invite everybody to, let's see here, this afternoon at 12 o'clock noon, I have Deborah Thomas coming in to talk about really what the heck is business casual? What does that mean? Are you losing business because you're too casual in your dress or your attitude? Hello, welcome to Blab, people. And the second one is, if you are a professional looking to network with other professionals from around the world, there is a direct join link into the room and that I'm heading to shortly as soon as I shut this down so I can open it up and get that meeting started. Lasts for an hour. We have a presenter and we have other professionals from around the world. I'm going to close down the recording now. I want to thank everybody who's joined us in the live stream and participated in this mastermind session. I enjoyed it and it appears that you all did as well, and I'm glad of that. Thank you everybody in the comment section. Some terrific interaction there and engagement, insightful comments, questions, and good participation. Greatly appreciated. Those watching the recording, thanks for joining us. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.